Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. Time for another episode of Monday Night Quarterback. Let's talk about Week 8. Not so much Week 8. A lot of good stuff happened in Week 8. We don't know what's going on with the Monday Night Football game. This is being filled before that game is played, so we won't talk about that. But I really want to look at the year in review. I got some feedback, and they suggested putting the year in perspective now that we're through Week 8. Okay? So some of the things I want to talk about. How about a mid-season MVP? Who would be your mid-season MVP? For me, it comes down to two. Mahomes and Gurley. And I think they're the two that I think are your two candidates for MVP at this point of the season. And I think I'm going to go with Gurley. And the only reason is, it seems like every quarterback is having a good season this year. And there's so many out there. Now, they're not having the same success that Mahomes is having, but Gurley is a head and shoulders above all the other running backs in the league. So I'm going with Gurley as my mid-season MVP. Which brings me to my next thing. Who's going to make the All-Star team? The mid-season All-Star team. Again, we got Mahomes. We got that, right? We got Gurley. Running back. Who's the second running back on my All-Star team? I'm going with Barkley. A lot of you might go with Kamara, and I get it, but he's starting to fade away now that Ingram's back. So I think Barkley is continuing to do what he does each and every week. He has 100 yards in every game except for one, and on a pretty bad offense there. You know, not a lot there with Eli Manning, and Kamara is on a great offense, and he's starting to fade away. Still scoring some points, but I'm going to go with Barkley as my number 2 running back. Receivers, I think Thielen is the obvious pick as your number 1 receiver at this point in the season. Who's number 2? You look at different point systems and things like that. I am going with Davante Adams. Davante Adams is going to be my number 2 All-Star. He's having a great season. Quietly, I think. He's not as flashy as maybe Tyreek Hill or some of the other names that are out there. He's going to be my number 2. And there won't be a third. If you want, pick a third, but we're just going to go with 2 receivers on this All-Star team. And then the tight end. The tight end for me breaks down to Zach Ertz or Travis Kelce. Okay, so I think they're very close in points that they're scoring, and Kelce really had that week 1 with like 1 point or something like that. It was a really low week for him. Otherwise, he's had great weeks. I'm still taking him over Zach Ertz, and here's why. I had the opportunity to take Travis Kelce, and I didn't. I took Rob Gronkowski and some other players ahead of him. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so I'm taking him as my tight end for the All-Star team. So there you have it. That's who I have as an All-Star team. Who is the fantasy football head coach? Who's going to coach this team? That was a good one somebody gave me. Who's your favorite fantasy football NFL head coach, right? Suggestion was made, Sean Payton. I think that's obvious. I mean, they like to run up the score a lot. They score a lot of points, but that's not who I'm taking. I am not taking him. I'm taking Sean McVay. I mean, look at what he's done with Jared Goff, with Todd Gurley, with Robert Woods. I talked about him previously. How about Robert Woods and how great he's been doing, and all the receivers that are there? They're having an outstanding year. I'm taking him to coach my fantasy football team. Who's the coach killer? How about that? Let's talk a little bit about the coach killer. I think Mike McCoy is, I know he's not the head coach. He was the offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals and really stifled David Johnson. Now, David Johnson has been performing. He's got 6 touchdowns. That's saving him. But do you know he hasn't rushed for more than 71 yards yet this season? That was his highest rushing total. So he hasn't even broken 75 yards. And I think receiving, he hasn't broken 50 yards. He has 4 for 40, something like that. And he's catching a lot of balls still, scoring 6 touchdowns, getting a couple yards on the ground, but I mean, it's not the David Johnson that we hope would break out. I understand their offensive line needs a lot of help, but there's ways around that. Look at Barkley. Barkley's getting over 100 every game. Hopefully Byron Leftwich is going to turn that ship around, but right now my coach killer is Mike McCoy. Speaking of that, Weasel of the Year. Who's the fantasy football owner that I think is Weasel of the Year? I think to talk about one thing would be Le'Veon Bell. Any owner who has Le'Veon Bell, okay? Not that they're the Weasel because they have Le'Veon. Le'Veon Bell is the biggest disappointment. We all knew he was going to hold out. I think a lot of people had hope that he would be back by now. Obviously, he's not. You can't really blame that on fantasy owner. The fantasy owner, what you can blame on them is their inability to take James Conner. as his backup. So if you had Le'Veon Bell as a keeper coming into this, or you drafted him in a redraft league and you got him, you have to make sure you back up Le'Veon Bell with James Conner. If you didn't, you're an owner who did that. You're one of the weasels of the year. Mid-season weasel of the year goes to you. I'm not always a big fan of handcuffing anymore. It used to be something back in the day. Everybody's got a handcuff. But you don't handcuff everybody, because not everybody's going to have that stud backup running back that's going to step in. James Conner, we all believed could do that, and wow, what a week 8 did he have, along with all the other ones. And as Ben Roethlisberger likes to say, it was probably his last week because Bell's coming back. But mid-season, weasel of the year, weasel of the mid-season goes to any coach who didn't draft James Conner and had Le'Veon Bell. One other thing, I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about here. The only other thing I want to ask is, where did Juju go? Juju started out hot. Beginning of the season, I was excited. He was looking good. People were saying, who's the true number one in Pittsburgh? They were saying Antonio Brown's not the number one receiver in Pittsburgh anymore. It's Juju. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? He's gone. Disappeared. So, that's it. That's all I got for you. A lot more about mid-season than it was week 8. Week 8 was a lot of fun, but check it out. Let me know what you think. Want to hear who your all-stars are for the mid-season. Who's your MVP? Who's your weasels? And anything else you want to share. Love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.